Yes. So it actually started with an internship. While I was at Delaware State University, I interned at the Wells Fargo Center. For those of you who don't know, that is the sports and entertainment facility for Philadelphia. So that's where the Sixers play, all the major concerts and all that good stuff. That's where my love for the industry started. After that, I graduated a couple years later, and listen, you knew me on campus. I was
Yeah.
involved in everything. I was an AKA. Me and Shonda would walk around like we was popping or whatever. So I'm like, who wouldn't hire your girl, right? The jobs is just supposed to be lined up, right? So it was the exact opposite. So it actually took me a couple of turns, a couple of twists to actually land my spot into my career. It took me a couple years. A lot of people don't know that. Like, some people think that I was privileged with breaking into this industry as soon as I graduated, and it was really a journey for me, and a journey that I embraced. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you did a great job. I mean, you're doing a great job. And I'm just saying, like, I know when you were with like when you were with the G League, and I remember just seeing you like
yes.
on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I'm like, man, like she looked like the owner of the team. Like that's what I should
Thank
be
you.
thinking. But no, that's like good, and I'm glad that you shared that too, because I think sometimes people just see the finished product of success, but they're not seeing like the work that you're taking to put into it. So speaking of that journey, like I know it hasn't been an easy journey. And something that your website stuck, I was saying, breaking glass ceilings and hills. Like I love that, by the way.
Thank you.
What is what are some of the, I would say, frequent challenges that you've come across, breaking into these spaces and being a woman in, spaces dominated by males and more specifically, white males?
Yeah, I will say that the industry has gotten a lot better and a lot more diverse since I first started. So I'll preface this with that. But the numbers are there, statistics are there, the numbers are still off. So I would say that a general challenge can be, for maybe women in sport not knowing how to ask someone to be their mentor, being afraid to speak up, or women who maybe a little bit more timid when it comes to advocating for themselves, such as in performance reviews or salary negotiation, and really negotiating your worth to your employer. I would say that those are the two standard things that I see are most common in women, not only women in sport, but women in general.
Okay, no, I can see that for sure. So, through those experiences, I know I wanted to ask, before we jump into what you're currently doing, but it seems like it's kind of preparing you for the position that you're in today. And I'm saying that just in regards to, I know you're involved with the National Black MBA, you're the Black Engagement Chair, Black Engagement Network Chair, and just doing your speaking engagements. I think engaging these different type of diverse communities. Being in that space now, like, how do you feel like your journey has like unintentionally prepared you for that?
Listen, like you said, my journey has definitely prepared me for where I am today. Some people don't know this, but yes, so I did start the first Black employee resource group for the Washington football team, along with my homegirl Astasia. Shout out to Astasia. So we got together and started Ben. And just from there, doing the work, it morphed into a full-time role. Like, the company approached me and asked me if this is something that I would want to do. And by all means, it was my passion. So everything just aligned so perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, would you, like I was saying earlier in the beginning of the episode, this is such a hot topic now, diversity and inclusion. Myself, I work in HR, so it's something that
Mm.
we're always talking about all the time.
Oh, so you the
Um,
ops? Okay. JK, just kidding.
yeah, yeah. So it's something we always talk about, and specifically, like I'm in recruiting. So right now, there's a big push for diversity, HBC,
Hmm.
all those type of things. So just from your experiences working in that space, kind of share like some wins and then some areas of improvements as it relates to diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, I would definitely say that DE&I is, especially in the sports space, I think it's newly embraced. And I think that it took last summer, was it last summer, for these teams to really lean in and to get an understanding of where they went wrong and to acknowledge the fact that they have to move forward. So with that said, I think some of the wins are that, we have everyone's attention, everyone is leaned in, and everyone is trying. I think the areas of growth and opportunity can be for more support for these DE&I leaders, or even for employee resource groups to effectively navigate and manage the necessary programming to do what it is that an employee resource group is designed to do, which is to recruit, retain, and develop.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Because I know there's it's a lot of activity going on, and some things are working and some things aren't working. Then I think it's just sometimes people just not really being open to all the work that it will require to kind of reach some of those diversity goals.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, being in these spaces and just going back to talking about, coming from an HBCU, kind of like how you say, sports has changed. I think even the reputation and the support and the branding of what HBCUs can produce has changed as well, which I'm
Yes.
happy to see. But talk about, Dale State and, HBCU and a small family environment. Talk about, how that kind of helps you, like before you kind of got into the quote unquote real world.
Oh man. So look, you were Mr. DSU, right?
No, SGA.
SGA. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so you still had
Same,
exposure to
yeah, same
everything.
thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It listen, I can't even be professional. It was just lit. It was litty. Okay.
Right.
My HBCU definitely prepared me for my journey. And I say this all the time. The fact that I served on SGA, I was my senior class VP, which kind of forced me to, have face-to-face interactions with our university president or some of those higher up people. That same confidence that I had on campus when I had to speak to these higher level individuals is what prepared me to go into these companies and speak to CEOs and ABCs and XYZs. Like the HBCU confidence is unmatched. And I think that the people who attended an HBCU, you can literally like just see it on them. Like, I think that we walk different, we talk different, we think different. There is no mistaking an HBCU graduate from a non-HBCU grad.
No, absolutely. I totally agree, because that was actually my experience too. Once I graduated, it was like meeting with all these big wigs and stuff, and it was like, we
Yeah.
done met with the president, we done meet with the who was it, Congressman Carney at the time, and it just, you kind of had that exposure and being in a small
Yes.
city. So I definitely attest to that. Now, one thing you touched on, and what I definitely wanted to ask, I talked to a lot of different women, whether it's our age, younger, older, whatever the case is. And I've noticed, and I'm speaking specifically from someone that really loves the network, I'm big on networking. I've noticed that women may have a different, a lot of them have, different concerns and perspectives when it comes to networking. And not that they're opposed to it, but I've had, heard many women say, hey, well, it's just different trying to network with women, or it's harder trying to find an older mentor, or it's different with us and how we operate. So just kind of share some advice for those listening who may be in their junior year of college, may be deep into their career, but they don't have that networking skills, or they need that mentor, like you said earlier, or a sponsor. Talk about like some advice that you could offer for them to get into that space and get out of that space of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, honestly, you just got to do it. Like, you have to put yourself out there and ask. Some people may say no, but a lot of people will say yes, because if you're an HBCU graduate, and I keep harping on this, like, I find it that it's my responsibility to make sure that the HBCU grads behind me find success, whether it be in my industry or wherever. So if someone asks me to be their mentor, by all means, I'm going to do something to help them in their career path. We may not be on a call every week, but there's going to be opportunities where like we touch base, or I make sure that they have the right guidance. So it's all about just stepping outside of your comfort zone. For me, being in a male industry, a lot of my mentors are men. So just to the women out there who want men mentors, one of the criteria I look for is I just make sure that the individual is like a family guy, very high integrity, yes, very successful, but I also like to look at the character. I like to make sure that, he's never looked at me in any type of way, or didn't never make me feel uncomfortable, isn't really attracted
Yeah.
to me or whatever. I think that's important. Especially with like, you want it to be somebody that you're comfortable with. So
Right.
that's the biggest advice that I'll give.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I think I know I've talked to a lot of people, and it's like they're itching to get it, but they're like, kind of like you said, they may have had bad experiences, or
Yeah.
like I was I was seeing the post one day on LinkedIn, and the guy like went so viral. He was like, hey man, he was like, he was like, to the words like, LinkedIn is not meant for dating. It was like, you're on.
Listen, I'm like, I want you to mentor me. How you trying to holler?
No, for real. So, and on top of that too, outside of your networking and also being an HBCU, but being a member, being an AKA being a member of that sorority, has that assisted you with your networking and leadership as well?
It definitely has.
Yeah.
It definitely has. My mentor, like my camp of people that I have, mentors and sponsors, like they all don't do exactly what I want to do. Like I have one mentor that's in this industry, another that's like a GM for a team. I don't want to be a GM. I just like the way he does business. So like I think it's important to be open-minded when acquiring mentors.
Yeah, agree, because you could learn something from everybody.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how, when I was growing up, I'm grateful to still have the same mentor since 10th grade of high school.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, but it's like that's like always been like my overall mentor. But then I had a mentor who was maybe on a community level. Then I had a
Yeah.
mentor who was like, I have one mentor who's really like specifically my financial mentor. Like that's all
Mm-hmm.
we talk about. So I definitely agree with you say you could pull, things from different people.
Yeah, it should be
Um,
diverse. I love it.
yeah. So before I get back to the second book, because I definitely love the title and the theme of the second book, but the Level Up Boot Camp, as you mentioned earlier, just speaking engagement, those type of things. Talk about that boot camp, and is this currently still available for people to take advantage of?
So yes. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Yes, I'm familiar with the level of boot camp that you're referring to, but that
Mhm.
was last year's initiative.
Ah,
This
okay.
year, yeah, so this year I'm going to focus a little bit more on brand building and helping my
Hmm.
audience become a brand, so they can be on the lookout for that. As I'm making impact, I want to make sure that everybody else can make impact with their respective audiences. So that's my goal for 2022.
Okay, absolutely. I'll definitely be looking out for that for myself. Trust me. So, in this career, we're talking about, just going from the G League, being able to watch the football team. You have a lot of accolades and awards. What is your, and I wouldn't even say end goal, because I don't like to always ask end goal, because definitely, I mean, me knowing, watching you and feeling your energy, I know there's not like you don't plan to stop. But what are some of your long-term goals, like, in the next five, not even five, but like next 10 years, like, what would you like to see yourself?
Oh man, I hate this question. I'm gonna just say, listen, y'all just have to just keep watching your
Keep
girl and you'll
watching.
find out. Yes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, one thing I did notice too, you're working on your PhD, right?
So my DBA, Doctor in Business Administration, yes.
Okay, okay, and you have a set date when that will be completed?
The goal is within the next couple of years, 2 years, but we'll see.
Okay, and how's that experience been for you?
It's actually been awesome, very enlightening. I love doing research. I love exploring more into the area that I'm passionate about. So
Yeah, okay. No, 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 that's good. Definitely look forward to that. Now, being in going back to the art of taking L's. So I remember when I first seen you promote this book, it stuck out to me so much because it actually was in the time where I guess you could say quote unquote a L. I was in the process of taking the L.
oh,
Um,
okay.
but but and I've like, oh, we've took many L's, but you
Hmm.
don't appreciate it till it's over. Like when the storm is there, you like, man, all right.
Yes.
But
Like,
once it's
why has
over,
thou forsaken me?
yeah, like all the time. And it's so funny, right? Because I
Facts.
was going through that in grad school, and I remember going to Bible study one night in Baltimore, and they were talking about the fruits that God promised you, and when they said one of them was long suffering, so it was like a flash moment for me. I was like, oh, this all makes sense now when I'm going through it. But no, that book and the title, that I definitely want you to touch on that more, because I think, especially with our age group, sometimes people are afraid to take a L, and I really didn't
Yeah,
get into the space of understanding it till I was watching a guy follow Gary V. I know you're probably familiar with Gary V.
definitely.
And he was just talking about how, like, yeah, like, man, whatever L you take, like, you got to take it with pride. You got to embrace it. Don't run away from it. So talk about,
Hmm.
how that book came about and some lessons you learned from taking L's.
Listen, that book is, I would say, out of the two, it's my favorite. The book came about because, you know, I realized that my thought process wasn't common with some of my peers. And I realized a lot of my peers would come to me when they needed encouragement, positivity, and when they needed to be reassured that their situation, no matter what it looked like, was going to work out ultimately for their good. Um, so yes, it is. I have included some of my own experiences in the book. I've included the experiences of 11 other co-authors within the book. We're talking about people who may have like lost a job suddenly, people who lost a parent, people who were in car accidents and overcame like every L that you can think of is in this book, which is why I absolutely love it. But the overall synopsis of The Art of Taking L's is just, your reaction to the L, how you react to it, and then your thought process of the L, like how exactly is it that you perceive the L, not really taking on the identity of a victim, but knowing that you're a victor. So I love the book. I think that everybody should grab a copy. It's available now via the link in my bio.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. I agree with everything that you said. How is DC, how's that expand? Because I think, as we talk and as we know you, you were already kind of in that space, network and ambitious before you got there. But as we all know, location can either make things better or worse. But how has DC like impacted your life? Not even just professionally, but just personally as well.
Um, I'll say I think it goes back to the original point that I made earlier in the conversation. Like, I love being around so many diverse individuals, so many people of color that are in power, so many ambitious people. I love being exposed to it. I will say that I need to network more
Okay.
and get out there a little bit more. So you got to invite me to, the networking events or whatever.
Sure.
But overall, I love it.
That's good. That's good. Now, are you actually in DC or are you like outside of Maryland, Virginia?
Yeah, I'm in DC,
Are you in DC? Okay, cool. What part?
Southeast.
Southeast. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So you're probably in Ward 8 or Ward 7?
No, I was in Ward 8. Now I'm by the Navy Yard.
Oh yeah, okay.
What
That's
ward is
that's
it?
well, it's funny. That's Ward 6, but it's about to be Ward 8. They just rezoned that area.
Oh, okay.
So you by
Yeah, I
Navy
was
Yard.
on I was on Mississippi Avenue when I first moved out here.
You was in the hottest
Yeah,
south.
and I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved being around my people. I really did.
Agree. It's so funny you say that. That's the same with me. Like now being in Florida, and when I first moved here, I was living in Pompano. So I don't know if you're familiar with Broward County, but Pompano is like Pompano is like the heart of like that's what Kodak Black. That's where all them from.
Oh, okay,
So
that part.
yeah. So when I first moved here, like my mom, she's like, "You always move next to her." And I was like, I said, "My end of the day is like I'm not living there. I'm living by it."
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm more comfortable around my people than maybe people who
Yes.
I don't, because I know my people and I know
Right.
what not to do and what position not to put myself in.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, I
yeah,
loved it.
but Mississippi, okay, that's what's up. So yeah, with everything that you do have going on, one thing that I know, like I said, just from following you and watch you, I know family, just even with you and your twin sister, family is important, and faith is important as well. So, I think what a lot of people can relate to that are ambitious, that have a lot going on, 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9. How do you find the right balance to engage in activities that keep you going? Whether that's working out, whether that's church, or all of the above.
Yes. Well, some things just aren't negotiable. So my health and looking fine, I gotta hit the gym every day, gotta make time for it. Church is a non-negotiable. I'm going to church every Sunday. That's just how I was raised. But it's also just knowing what to prioritize when. One of my managers told me years ago, and this always stuck with me. He said, Chanelle, you cannot be everything to everybody. Because at the time, a lot of people were pulling on me. They wanted me to be a part of certain things that they were doing, different campaigns. And he noticed I was stretching myself very thin. So I employ that in my everyday life, like realizing that, yes, I can do some things, but I cannot do every single thing.
Yeah, and that's good because I've been there before. You end up burning yourself all the way out.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
no, for sure. So yeah, definitely. As we come to a close, something I've been asking the most recent guest. So, something I didn't do in the beginning of the podcast, but this station, Dreams by Any Means Motivation, I started it last year around this time, and it started with me kind of just exposing people to like my network, whether it was friends, former colleagues, mentors, whatever. But the main focus of this station is people talking about getting to their dreams by any means, which you
Mm.
have described and you've talked about. But I always ask people, if you could think of a moment, whether it was work, whether it was bouncing back from an L, whether it was moving from Delaware to DC, like what was your any means moment where you really put carriage on the table, pride to the side, just zoned in tunnel vision. Like, what's an any means moment you could share with the listeners, for some inspiration?
I would say when I relocated, I think that can be a scary thing for a lot of people, especially when I first moved out here, which is me by myself. So that was my dreams by any means moment. Like I wanted to move. I was in Delaware. I felt like a big fish in a small pond. It was time for a change. And I just took a chance on myself and I did it.
Congratulations. You moved to one of the best places in the country.
Thank you.
So I gotta ask, since you've been in DC, have you really got into the culture, meaning with the mumbo sauce, the chicken? Like, have you really culture as far as through the food, through the music? You been to a go-go yet?
I have not. I went to a go-go in college.
And at Memorial Hall?
I don't remember. I just remember it was real hot.
But you didn't go to one in DC though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You went to a real one. Okay.
Oh, you talking about no, not at Delaware State campus. Yes, I came to DC and went to a go-go. Like.
Oh, you good then. You good. But chicken and mumbo sauce now?
I don't eat chicken, but I got mumbo sauce in my refrigerator.
Okay, and do you got a pair of 990s yet?
No, I do.
All right, that's the last thing. We gotta get you the whole kit.
Okay, the starter kit.
Right. Nah, that's what's up though. So I definitely, like I said, appreciate you today. Glad you came on here to share your story. Definitely want to invite you to come back on again. And next time, when I'm in DC, we can do something visual so the people could see you. We could let's have a part 2 of this because I think it's definitely so much more to unpack. But I'm proud of you, and I definitely just want to thank you. Yeah, thank you personally for putting out that energy and putting out that positivity. Because a lot of times, even when I'm getting on Instagram and Twitter, I'm noticing myself on following pages of people because I'm like, I need to see more positive stuff. So if I can't count on anyone that's gonna put that out, I know you're gonna put it out there. So I speak for a lot of people that I know follow you that appreciate that.
Oh, I really appreciate that, and I'm proud of you too. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we'll be in touch and keep getting to your dreams by any means.
Same here. You too.
All right.